Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a great evening. I am super excited to have a very special guest here, just to have a really candid and hopefully inspirational conversation with you about gratitude. So, as busy women, we have taken time just to sit down and just talk about how important gratitude is. So, I'm Dr. Tomeka. I'm a certified integrative nutrition health coach and physician and owner of Flourish Health Coaching LLC, where I work with busy women and their families to help them become healthier through nutrition and lifestyle changes. Um, so this evening, I have my best friend from college, North Carolina Central University, Soror, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, auntie to my three kids, prayer partner, just a confidant. I'm so excited to just have her to take a moment of her special and precious time just to have this conversation. So this is Dr. Johnette McCain, and I'm going to let Dr. Johnette McCain just briefly share some things with you that is special to her.
Well, first of all, hello everyone. What's special to me is the young lady who's talking, Dr. Tomeka. I call her Tomeka affectionately. She is my best girlfriend from college, and I thank God for her. I thank God for the platform, how God is allowing her to be used to bless others, and that's why you're tuning in. There's not much to say about me. Again, Tamika and I met on the sloping hills and verdant green of North Carolina Central University, the greatest university in the whole wide world. She being married to a Morehouse man, and I being married to a North Carolina A&T Aggie. We say that unapologetically, and I'm sure folks will have a lot to comment about that. And I live in Aggie land, but that's okay. I will forever soar with the Eagles. And during my time at North Carolina Central University, I met this wonderful woman who it's funny because we entered into our sisterhood, I think, because of her interest in a sisterhood that I was already a part of, which is Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority. We were both initiated in the Alpha Chi chapter there. And through that door, God began a wonderful relationship and friendship. We have been like glue ever since. I get tickled because when I graduated before she did, because I'm a year older than Tamika, and even when I graduated on the weekend, she would come to Greensboro, North Carolina, where I resided at the time, and she would stay with me then. And it was just we just had fun times, like we never left each other. Um, but again, I am Johnette McCain. I am an educator, science or the science supervisor for Guilford County Schools, which is located in Greensboro, North Carolina. So my life has changed drastically in the midst of the pandemic and how we're dealing with COVID-19. So I rely on folks like Dr. Tamika to remind me of self-care, to remind me of Wellness Wednesday. I just looked at the Wellness Wednesday plug that told me to put together a playlist. And for those of you who don't know this, I'm going to reveal some secrets. Dr.
Uh-oh.
Music and Dr. Tamika loves to dance. So I got tickled when I thought about that playlist because I am going to make one. Music is therapeutic, not only to her, but to me. We both connect through music, not only through gospel music, but through old school R&B. And Dr. Tamika loves to hear the instruments within music because she's
Yes.
so about that. We could be listening to something and she'll say, "Did you hear the flutes? Did you hear the piccolo?" I'm like, really? But that is a wonderful way to engage in self-care. Those things are so important in a time like this, Dr. Tamika. So I rely heavily on your expertise because no matter your education background, how many degrees you have, you learn so much. And I'm finding that out in this season.
Mm-hmm.
there to learn. Some of it has to be censored. Some of it is a distraction. But if you're prayerful and you ask God to reveal things to you, you learn so much in a time like this. So I thank God for you, Dr. Tomeka,
Thank
um,
you.
for keeping me sane in such a complex and confusing time for some people.
Mhm. Well, that is beautiful. And Dr. Johnette, like she has done some tremendous things during the course of her career. I just want to highlight a couple of them. She was our Miss North Carolina Central University in 1997, right?
1996, 97.
1996, 97, which is beautiful, right? She represented our university extraordinarily well. And she has gotten her PhD, which you can tell me, I don't want to mess up your degree, but PhD in science, right?
It's in curriculum and instruction, teacher education. My cognate or my concentration was equity education. My master's was in cancer biology and biology.
Got you. So she's a wealth of knowledge. And so the folks, the kids, the families in the Greensboro, High Point area are so blessed to have her part of their school system. Like tremendously blessed to have her. So awesome. Awesome. Okay. So we are going to talk about gratitude because like I said, Johnette and I were just having a conversation and was talking about how, how everything is with everything going on and the times changing and just, you know, something that we've never seen in our lifetime with the COVID-19. Uh, just talking about like simple things, and she began to share some things that she was doing with gratitude, and it really blessed me. And I was like, we need to have a conversation just about what we can do with the things that we have, and just stand in that place of gratitude when things are changing so much around us that we don't recognize. So, so what I would like to first start with is, as a busy woman, as a busy mom, Johnette, you are still working during this time, right, as an educator. So if you could just tell us what things look like now that schools are closed and students aren't at schools now. But yet, a lot of schools, I think most schools, have transitioned to an online learning platform. So what kind of things, what do things look like from your point of view? And what are some things you could share with us as parents to help, I guess, maximize how much our kids can learn in this setting?
Oh, wow. Um, there has been a huge paradigm shift for us here in Guilford County. But thankfully, praise God, our school system, we're still engaging and teaching children. So teaching and learning is still taking place. Unfortunately, for some school systems across the country, because of the pandemic, they have totally shut down. We are in an area where our superintendent has led us in such a way that we are trying to, and we've almost been successful, but we have about 73,000 students in Guilford County. And we have tried to, if you do not have a device at home, we're trying to put a device in every child's home. We are soliciting sponsorships, we're soliciting donations and things of that nature. We've been very successful with that. We've also made ways to feed the community while the school doors are closed. For many of our students, the meals that we provide, primarily lunch, are the meals that they rely on a daily basis. So we have found a way to do that with over 100 sites in which students in the Guilford County area and their families, anyone up to 18 years old, they're still being fed. So we're glad and we're grateful for that. But it looks very different, Dr. Tomeka. I was teasing you. Um, um, I always tell Dr. Tamika, who's my prayer partner, my confidant, that she has the ear of God. I tell her that all the time, and she says, "Well, you have it too." I said, "But he must have heard me this time." I must, the Bible says the prayers of the righteous avail much. I must be on my way or on the road to righteousness because I asked him, I said, I wanted to be placed in a position where I had more flexibility and I could do some things from home and I could really spend time with my children and just surround myself with my family. Well, I want you to know he answered A, B, C, D, E, all of the above. Remember when we took tests and said, check all the he answered all of the above because that's what we're doing. I do find, though, Dr. Tomeka, that it's a little bit more hectic than it was when I had my regular schedule. Professionally speaking, throughout the day, I have the opportunity to facilitate professional development face to face with teachers. I can go to schools and help co-teach. I can help provide feedback for them because feedback is a gift if it's given in a not a critical way, but in a caring way, in such that you'll be transformed or you'll want to teach transformatively. That's what I aim to do on a day-to-day basis. We also make curricular decisions for our district, along with my boss, Dr. Faith Freeman. We're a STEM department, so we're trying to be innovative and progressive. So that's what my normal day looks like. My day looks now. I am on virtual calls, virtual meetings on Zoom, Teams, Skype, from anywhere from 9 until 4 p.m., 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And sometimes that's all the way through, with the exception of a break for lunch, so to speak. And people say, well, that's not bad because you can be at home. We still try to dress a certain way. You can be in your pajamas if you want to, but if you have some professionalism about yourself, you don't want your teachers to be that way. And the hair salons are closed, so we're struggling right now, but we're hanging in there. But that is so different from me. I love to interact with people, but having to do it like that, in front of a screen, in front of with that view. I was teasing my daughter. I was teasing Brianna, Dr. Tomeka, and I told her, I said, now, if you want to be a doctor, I tell you, as a result of this, I want you to either go into psychology or I want you to be an optometrist, because at the end of the day, folks need some mental health. I don't care who you are, you're going to need it because of such a time as this. And optometrists are going to make big money because our eyes are going to be bad after we go to screens. I'm trying to tell you, glasses are going to be the most fashionable commodity. Yeah, I got on contacts. I'm telling you, it is the sensationalism with glasses. You did now. This is prophetic right here. You watch what I say gonna happen. But that causes for me, although I'm grateful first of all that we are still working and still being paid. But for me, that causes anxiety. It causes headaches because you're constantly doing that all day. And it's new. You've gone from a manual platform, a verbal platform, and a written platform to a digital platform. And one of the other prayers I had professionally, I said, Lord, I want to become more technologically savvy. I guess this is my season for answer prayer, because I have been forced to transform and make that adjustment. So although it's transformative, although it's a blessing that we've incorporated blended learning, as we call it, in our educational system, it is taxing. I am more tired than I was when I was playing in the science fair. I am more tired because I think it's a mental tiredness, and oftentimes we focus that on the physical, but the mental can be as detrimental, if not more so, at a time like this. So it's very important that we do things to keep us focused. It's important that my husband was telling me last night, he's a principal here in Guilford County, and he was telling me I have a son who is in the third grade, and I'm high school. I come from a high school background in terms of teaching. I taught high school years ago. And, in high school, you tell kids do it and they do it. We don't tie shoes and wipe nose and, take you to the bathroom and stuff like, things, independent learning is what we do.
Right.
I was just going. We were doing social studies. We were doing science late because I have to work first. Then he gets his educational lessons later because of my work schedule, my husband's work schedule. My daughter in high school, she's kind of she can do her own thing, but my son, he needs that coaching, he needs that guidance one-on-one. But I was just going one subject after the other. My husband looked at me and said he needs a brain break. And I said, what you mean? He said he needs a brain break. Kids, even in school, they go 45 minutes, they go to the bathroom. I said, well, this is the house. This is not school, but I have to make that adjustment. And so I realized, and my son has attention deficit issues at times. He drifts in his focus, and I hope this blesses someone. And so I had to learn how to even adjust, even when I asked him to do things at home here, okay, do A, B, and C, and okay, then take a break. Then we're gonna come back and do D and F, D, E, and F. So I had to adjust some things, and I find it in a way, we miss our peers, we miss our colleagues, we miss our students, but I also miss the routine of what was. So a time like this, Dr. Tomeka, will make you reflect and understand that we take so much for granted. We take so much for granted, and this adjustment has helped me realize, you know what, we did A, B, and C seamlessly. Now that that's being taken away, we're having to make this huge adjustment. We're making it, and it's taxing, but a lot of good is coming out of it. It's not doom and gloom. And again, I try to add that gratitude and that gratefulness in, but my day looks totally different now than it did before.
And I think, you said a lot that hopefully is helpful, to some listeners, because one of the things that you said is just changing the routine. A lot of times we think that, oh, you're at home now, you can be relaxed, you don't have to have that stress of the structure of a classroom. But, I think that structure actually can, give you even just allow you to maybe have a heightened sense of learning and, being ready and more focused because you're associating, okay, I'm at school, so for this particular time, I'm going to sit down and try to get the lesson the teacher is teaching me. At home, it's like, no, I'm like doing what I'm supposed to do at school because this is home. So it's just, I think that kids, I know for myself, my kids aren't making that that transition like, oh, okay, this is the dedicated school time. They're like, no, I mean, we'll do a little bit work, but we still at home. So
but Dr. Tomeka, you're the one who taught me how to do this. Let's put that in perspective. I'm the educator by trade. It's funny because I'm the educator by trade who happens to be a doctor. She's the doctor by trade who became mom educator. And for those of you who do not know this, Dr. Tomeka homeschooled her children, and she called me seeking advice from me initially, but I learned from her when I came to visit her little schoolhouse that she had in Virginia, her little downstairs schoolhouse. It was amazing. And she taught me how to make the adjustment because little did I know, educator, the curriculum person, but how to be a mom and do that. I am pulling and reaching back for what I saw through her in Virginia, and I'm using it now. She thinks I'm being funny when I say that, but I'm serious. The little stuff that she did and her schedule. I remember seeing a schedule on the refrigerator door and what they were going to do and how they were going to do it, and the devotion they would have. Structure is very important, and that is what my children need. And I took that for granted because our structure in this household was our routine.
Right.
Now the routine has been disrupted, we have to implement and institute a new structure. So I credit Dr. Tomeka. If I'm successful at all, I credit Dr. Tomeka for that because I watched her do it a few years ago, not knowing. You know, it's so funny. God exposes you to what you need
Right.
well so you can revert back to it and feed off of it. But I revert back to that and I say, okay, what did Tamika do? And that's what I try to do. Um, Although I'm the educator. I'm the educator, and I'm like, no, but Tamika did that. You know, it's one thing to know things in theory and theoretically, but it's nothing like practice and the actual doing it. You know, those of us who are scholars and we've written research and we've conducted research and written papers and we're publishing all these journals, it doesn't mean a hill of beans if you haven't come in contact with some other human and help diagnose or help problem solve
Right.
what you need. So you taught me through practice what to do. So I hooked my theory up with your practice, and hopefully, and I hope this blesses somebody. If you are homeschooling your children right now, the only thing you can do, there's certain things about this pandemic you can't change. We can't change the time lost. We can't change the fact that we're not face to face with our teachers and our students, but just try your best to keep children engaged in some kind of way, keep them comfortable in terms of their mental state. And same thing with teachers. Teachers need mental health help now too, because it's
Mm-hmm.
different for them. But all we're trying to do is mitigate learning loss.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot we can do about teaching new things. We can teach some new things, but we just want to hold on and hold fast to what they already know so they know it well and they continue to be stimulated and engaged in such a way that they can continue some learning, but we just want to mitigate the loss, just minimize it in such a way that it's not of great detriment down the road. I think
Yeah.
we big things and we got to get in college. We're going to do that, but for such a time as this, let's just mitigate that time and put this in perspective. And that helps you to it not gets you off the hook, but it helps you in terms of taking some of the pressure off of you, because a lot of this is supernatural. We can't do one thing about it. We can only deal with and fix what we can in the natural, and that's just to slow things down and just keep folks and children and parents and teachers stimulated.
And
That's
exactly right. You're exactly right. That's so funny that you mentioned that I homeschooled for a time when we were in Virginia, which I that was a choice that we made for our family at the time. And I do remember calling you saying, "Okay, now I need you to help me. Like, what do I need to do?" And because education, I think that was one of the things I recognize is that although they were much younger, so of course, the basics of adding, subtracting, multiplication, division, simple, sentence structures, but it is like the just being able to connect it with a 5-year-old or a 7-year-old and make it make sense and not overwhelm them. That's another thing, right? Like that you said is during this time, moms don't stress over, oh my goodness, we got to do X, Y, Z. Oh,
uh-huh.
we didn't do these 4 things today, so this was just a failure in today. No, like exactly like you said, Dr. Johnette, just mitigate, educational loss. Like just keep them stimulated so that they're still, using their educational tools. They're still stimulating their minds and they're not just playing games all day that are not related to learning. Another thing for our kids now, we have to get outside if it's a nice day because
Absolutely.
I feel like the walls start to come in and just to get outside, get a breath of fresh air, right? Change scenery. And then when we come back in, we feel like, whoo, okay, we did something today.
And see, and Dr. Tamika and I have, she's always been that way. She likes to go. And what do
Yes.
I like to do, Tamika? I like to be at home. I do. I just, as long as the cable is on, my, I can go anywhere through the remote. So I have had to force myself to go out and to do, because I like the, I don't know, the sequestering of just being cozy and cut off from the world sometimes. I was listening to one of our friends of our family. He was actually the best man in our wedding. He's a minister, Reverend Marlon Wiggins. Said that social distancing equals spiritual development. So during this time where we are socially distanced from one another, but I like it because Tamika and I can see each other more often. I mean, I like talking to her. We live in different places, so I like talking to her where I can see her. But I wanted to try to develop something during this time. I do believe, like I said, I've been listening to a lot of things. I do believe that during this time, I heard one pastor say that during this time you're being protected, and something, and you're being protected, you're being prepared for something, and you're birthing something good is going to come after this or out of this. And that's why I'm so glad that Dr. Tamika is focusing on gratitude, because you have to ground yourself in it so you won't bury yourself in what's going on.
Exactly.
Yourself in it's so vitally important. So I'm gonna join you and start going outside. We've started some things. We watched movies over the Easter break, and our family, what did we do? For every commercial break, we got up and did exercise. So every family member had to exercise. So we moving. So now we got to move outside. So we go outside. Last week we were just moving during commercial breaks, just to keep ourselves stimulated, and because even movies sometimes can provoke feelings and emotions and expressions, that they mean well, but they're sad, or they're melancholy. So we had to get up and move. So Dr. Tamika, we're gonna try to move outside this week. So
That is
yeah.
so wonderful. I think you'll like it. But I do want to go into, what if someone was to say, I lost my job. I unfortunately a loved one is sick in the hospital with COVID-19, or you know and yes, that sounds great and wonderful that the kids are home with me all day, but it's really too much for me. And I need an outlet, and I feel like I actually have nothing to be grateful for. What would you say to them?
I know this is cliche, and I know it's an adage that, and Dr. Tamika tell you, I'm the first person to say, yeah, yeah, yeah. When people say stuff, that's just who I am. But it's the glass half empty, half full. And I'm speaking, um, from the perspective of a person who is no stranger to trials, no stranger to pain, no stranger to losing a loved one. My mother has gone on to glory. And if I didn't leave with her, then I know that God will keep you, because, we were close enough that I should have just gone with her. But I would tell that person, Dr. Tamika, that, um, and Dr. Tamika tell you this, hopefully. A lot of people tell me if I do anything, um, I try to offer perspective. I try to offer a way of seeing things. Sometimes my friends like, yeah, okay, I did not want you to say that. And sometimes they'll be like, you know what, that's good right there, that's good. I try to live my life through the lens of perspective, I would tell that person who lost their job, not knowing all the background, all the history as to why what happened, could have been to COVID-19, but we had a job to lose. So we got a skill set, which means we, in due time, in due season, will be able to get another one. If they lost their job, I would say, but in this particular time, no matter what political affiliation you're with, you're able to file for unemployment. In this particular time, if they've lost a loved one, you had a loved one to lose. There's some people who are born without mother, without father, without anyone. I only had my mother for 35 years of my life, but those 35 years were so impactful. In those 35 years, I had a relationship with my mother that some of my friends, and I'm 44 now, some of my friends after 44 years have not attained that or anywhere near it. So I thank God for the 35 years. I thank God that those years were impactful. You have to find the good in it. No matter what, there are so many opportunities that I thought I needed, I thought I wanted, I thought I should have had it, and I didn't get it. That door was closed. But I promise you, and I'm talking from experience, and I could talk on this all day, but I'm not going to. I could tell you that the door that I thought should have been open, I thank God it was closed, because later I saw it wasn't for me. Later I saw, COVID-19 for some will be a blessing. I know that's hard to swallow. It's a hard pill. For some, it'll be a blessing. For some, things will be birthed. New life will begin. Things will happen as a result of this. A young lady sent me a text today, and told me that she and her daughter weren't getting along. She just knew she was going to have to just knock her out. But because they have been together for these 3 to 4 weeks, they have learned one another. And she says, I don't want to hurt her anymore. I really love being around her. So I know that sounds cliche or fluffy, but I promise you, you have to put things in the perspective of saying, what's the good in it? What's good in it? You have to force yourself. And in doing so, Dr. Tomeka, I try to make a point to write it. I'm not one for, I love to speak and talk and things of that nature, but I'm not one for a whole lot of listening and a whole lot of writing. Oprah been writing in journals for years. After the first paragraph, I want to write it, but I would rather just say it and you push record and then I can play it back later. But in this season, I'm learning to do things that I didn't normally do, Dr. Tomeka. And I would encourage you not to write, because write implies long-windedness. I would encourage you to jot. So I have what is considered, my thought process was a jot journal. And this was before COVID-19. Everybody was talking about 2020, the year of vision, the year we're going in, we're doing this new, and that's wonderful. I believe that wholeheartedly. But Dr. Tomeka tell you, I got a thing for numbers. And 20 represents a cycle of completion. It's 2 times 10, 10 being the number of divine order. But then when you add 20 and 20, 20 is 40. And 40 throughout the Bible, for those believers who are tuning in, 40 is a number that signifies trials and tribulations. So I was excited about 2020 because I believe God has something in store, but I knew something was around the corner. I just didn't know what it was, because 20 plus 20 is 40. But with every trial and tribulation, God brings us through. But I said, you know what? We're going to have some trials. We're going to have some triumphs. But I'm going to be able to tell the story by the end of this year. So what I did was I went to the dollar store, and I like to give people little gifts and little whatnots. I went to the dollar store and I said, let me find a cute little journal, a little small jot journal. And the one that I found, it said, expect miracles. And I said, perfect. And so what I started doing, I said I was going to do it in January, didn't start it. Said I was going to do it in February, didn't start it. And then I found something, one of my friends from work, a colleague of mine, I hope she looks at this, Sabrina. Sabrina said, Johnette, everything that I pray for, everything I do, I write it down, and God is bringing things to pass. And I stood there at work and I cried and I said, Sabrina, I thank God for you because you're that push I need. You know, sometimes you plan to do something, but you prayed about it and you think you're going to do it, but you need God to put some vessel in your life to push you. Well, she pushed me and Tomeka pushed me and my friend Shayla pushed me and my family pushed me. You need to write it down. God give you some thoughts, write it down. I said, yeah, you're right. But my thought process was, I need to write down his miracles, his goodness. And something told me focus on small things. Small, we got a new job. We love to write that down. Got a promotion. We love to write that down. God healed us from cancer. You're supposed to write all that down. But in this season, I do believe, Dr. Tomeka, that you can't miss the small things. He's given us the social distance and the time and the place to pay attention to things. And so I said, okay, God. And so I actually started it in March. Like for real, for real. I did some things in January and February, but for real, I started in March. And then COVID-19 happened. Now, before COVID-19, my pages are nice, but there's, it's not a lot of words on the papers. But once COVID-19 came in, Dr. Tomeka, this is what it looks like. You can't, it's a pain. You don't like to write. I started jotting down things, Dr. Tomeka, like I found toilet paper at the grocery store. Because for several weeks, I don't know how it was where you are, but in the state of North Carolina, in the county of Guilford, it was nowhere. And I didn't ever think I would buy one ply anything. But God told me it don't matter if it's 3, 2, 4, or one ply. Any ply is a good ply. So, and that one ply, it's a blessing in that one ply, Dr. Tomeka, because it lasts. And I said, okay, God, eat little things like that. I know I'm making it funny, but I found meat. I found chicken. Oh, I would not take chicken for granted again. You couldn't find a thigh, breast, wing, or leg anywhere in this city. My neighbors sold their house in 2 hours. I wrote that down. They put it on the market, and in 2 hours it was sold. Not only my blessings and things God's done for me, I've written down in this what he did for others. And so I've found myself, and I've been writing now about COVID, and I said jot journal. So you're supposed to jot down a couple of phrases. But COVID, I have like 6 pages full, wall to wall. Little stuff. If my son, who we had tornado weather the other night, my son is 9 years old, and he said, oh, he's terrified of tornadoes. He said, you know what, Mama? God brought us over. Let me tell you something. A 9-year-old talking about the Lord, I wrote down.
Yeah.
He gave praise that he saw us through. Just that. My daughter, who's not a person to get in front of people, but she's very talented. She's an artist. We had a talent show through Zoom at church. Our church had a talent show through Zoom, and she displayed her artwork, and she spoke like, it was wonderful. And Dr. Tomeka knows that's Brianna. She speaks in pockets to people, but not to everyone. And she just spoke, and I wrote it down. Oh, she spoke with assurance. Because when this year is over, I don't know in what way, shape, or form I'll use it. I don't know if it'll be on a platform. I don't know if it'll be on the phone. It doesn't even have to be in front of the masses. It can be in front of one person. But I promise God that I would tell people about his goodness. And in grounding myself in this gratitude, I think I've kept myself sane because I have anxiety like everyone else. I cannot stand uncertainty at all. Dr. Tomeka tell you, I look at the plot of a movie and want to know how it's going to end before I watch it, or my nerves are going to be bad. That's just how I am. But in doing this and making myself focus on the positive, and like I said, that's cliche. We do the yoga and everybody's like, oh Lord, that's not for everybody. But I promise you, if you just make yourself, like, you make yourself drink water every day, or you make yourself um, do something. I'm gonna make it a point. Make it a point to think of something, one thing you are grateful for, no matter how small, or one thing God has done for you, no matter how small. I promise you, not only will you get through this pandemic, but it'll help you get through any problem, any process, any circumstance, anything moving forward. So, how I got through my mother's death, grateful. How I got through not going to medical school. Tomeka and I were supposed to be in medical school together. That's just how it was supposed to be. She was supposed to be a doctor, an MD. I wasn't supposed to be a PhD. I was supposed to be an MD. But when the door was closed and I did not go to medical school, I still said, Lord, I thank you, because there's something I don't know. And lo and behold, my trajectory was just right for me, and Dr. Tomeka's was just right for. And I don't even know if our trajectories wouldn't have been that way, if we wouldn't be as close as we are. We definitely wouldn't have our spouses, our children. But I make it a point. Tears will still flow. You'll still be hurt. You still will have butterflies. You'll still be anxious in this time, but you have to push through that thing and say, I'm still grateful. Lord, I thank you. Okay, I'm going, you know what? I found this today. Many of you got a check, or a check is on the way with the stimulus. Tell him thank you. And don't, it's only 1,200. It's on. We don't do it's only. Lord, I thank you. I told you, when you think about saying it's only, I want you to go back to what Dr. Johnette said about that one ply toilet paper. That one ply will bless you. The little things, the little things that we took for granted that are no longer, make us reflect, remember, and understand that we are to be grateful for every little thing. So my jot journal, Dr. Tomeka, is just one way that I express my gratitude.
I love that, because I think that it is important for us to really be grateful for the little things. Like, and so one thing, if you wake up in the morning, well, that's something to be grateful for, because everybody doesn't wake up. If you are breathing, that's something to be grateful for. If you have sight, if you have hearing, if you have taste, if you have activities of your limbs, like, these are things we say, like, and you do start to take it for granted until you don't have it. Then you realize, oh my goodness, like, I am so grateful just that I have feeling in my fingers, because there was a time I couldn't feel things. So those are just simple ways. And like Dr. Johnette said, when you're grateful for one thing, and then you become grateful for something else, and it just really leads to this overflowing of joy. So you're not even focusing on what you don't have, or what didn't happen, or what door didn't open. You're like, oh, look at how God blessed me with this, and then that just changes everything, because gratitude does determine your altitude as well. If you're grateful and you're thankful, it changes your entire landscape. It changes the possibilities, and so I think that I love the jot journal, because you're right. Sometimes we become overwhelmed, like, oh my goodness, I got to take an hour to write in a journal. But if you keep that in mind, a jot journal, okay, I'm going to jot down the things, small or big, that I'm grateful for. And then before you know it, you're filling up pages, right? And you're like, it wasn't even painful.
Not at all. Didn't hurt at all.
So I love that. So one other thing that I wanted you to share, there were some things you shared about this season, and you kind of hit on it about not missing this moment, right? So we're all sheltered in place. We don't know when it's going to be lifted. We don't know when things will change and it's safer for us to go back to the usual way of doing things. But you know, you had shared not to miss the moment of, because I'll even share that the 2 days before our kids' school had said we're not going to allow the kids to come back to school, I remember just saying out loud, and my husband was right where I was, and I was like, I am so tired. I was like, God, I just need a break. I just need like 2 weeks just not do anything, right? Not to have to take them to this practice or take them to school or pick them up or help. I just need like a moment just to rest. Like I needed that. And the next day, we got to notice that they were not returning to school. So I'm like, okay. Like you had said earlier, like, oh, okay, God, I didn't think that was going to happen, but okay.
Yeah, yeah.
In it, right? I don't want to miss that moment. So for me, I needed that time to just rest. And again, going back to self-care, that's something that, you know, we can overlook sometimes, take for granted, but there is tremendous benefit in resting your body. So if you are that person, do not feel do not feel bad or don't feel guilty for resting, because that is something that the body needs. It can rejuvenate, and you know it can allow healing to take place. So if that is you, take this time to rest and do not feel guilty, and be grateful that you have this time now to rest. But you had also shared, Dr. Johnette, that you believe that in this moment there are some things that we should make sure we don't miss. And you had given, you know, you love alliteration, so keys.
Oh,
Keys. So if you can share that with everyone, the things that you would, you know, just share that not to miss in this moment, right? In this season. Not because seasons don't last forever.
and you know, Dr. Tomeka, I do love alliteration. I get it from my Uncle Curtis, but I think I said something about the perspective that you have. Was that one of the P's, Dr. And I mentioned that a little bit earlier. Listen, you got to put things in perspective. um, Even the teachers that I have been working with in our school system, before they even formed their mouth to it, many of them didn't. But if I even thought they were going to form their mouth to complain about something, and if I have a relationship with them and I talk to them, I said, but listen, the Lord has seen fit for you to be paid and still work during such a time as this. So no matter how difficult this digital platform is, we're going to learn it, because on the 31st, you want that blessing to be in the bank and in the mailbox for those of you who, you know, don't have direct deposit. And it put it in perspective. Um, Everybody wants to get out. Everybody wants to get out. Well, the pestilence is on the outside. And if you're out there, you're out there with it. So stay in. It's a covering. It's a go somewhere and sit down. You wanted rest. You're getting rest. Put it in perspective. That and in addition to perspective, while you're able to be in perspective, you're able to pray. You're able to prepare. You're able to fix the house that you say I'm going to spring clean, and it's winter, spring, fall, summer, all the seasons are gone, and you still haven't been spring cleaning yet. We've been gone a whole year. You have the opportunity. You say, I'm going to stop eating fast food, and I'm going to cook. Well, Dr. Tomeka will teach us that cooking, although cumbersome for some it may be, it leads to a better lifestyle. Better lifestyle leads to better health. Better health leads to longevity if God sees fit. So you have to put it in perspective. So everything put in perspective. I can't go to church, but if your church is online, church is the building. You still getting the word. And then God gives you the opportunity. There's 66 books in that Bible that you can peruse on your own, and you can learn and get direction. But in this time, Dr. Tomeka, your perspective can't be clouded. You have to make sure that while you're gaining perspective and learning how to be grateful, that you're also learning how to seek him in such a way that you're not distracted as you seek the direction, because in this season too, this is why you have to pay attention in this season. The distractions are here, the deception is here, and if you fall prey to that, if we cave into that, we'll miss it. That Dr. Tomeka is talking about, we will miss if our minds are clouded with something else. So you have to guard yourself with prayer so that you can have the right perspective. And as you shelter in place and in this position, value that position, because you're sitting down for a reason. So every one of us has an individual it. You can say, don't miss it. And everybody wants to know, what is it that I'm missing? Well, your it may not be my it. And Dr. Tomeka's it may not be Dr. Johnette's it. You have to seek him and what your it is so that you won't miss it. Because when you're concentrating on what Dr. Tomeka's supposed to miss, you'll miss what he was trying to show, do, and tell you. And then there's a promise. There is a promise in his word that he'll never leave us nor forsake us. The Bible tells us, my mother used to tell us all the time, and my father was reading it the other day. My mother believed in Psalms 91. She called that the protection chapter of the Bible. And in Psalms 91, it talks about how we're shielded and how we're covered, and that thousands will fall by the wayside, but you shall not fall. You shall stand. You shall be covered. You shall be protected. And you have to stand on the promises. And then for those of you who are churchy and believers, you have to praise your way out of this whole thing. You have to force yourself to say, Dr. Tomeka, for those of you who know her and you're her clients, you know that Dr. Tomeka is not ashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ, and she will tell you that this is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. That girl has been saying that. And when I used to complain about the people in the world, when we were in college, Dr. Tomeka would look at me and say, take all kinds and make it up for the world. Remember you used to tell me that, Dr. Tomeka? So you have to have that prayer. You have to have that perspective. You have to rely on his promise, and then you got to praise your way. Dr. Tomeka loves to, I'm revealing her secret. She loves to dance. Dr. Tomeka can dance. She loves to move and dance. And she could move and dance to the point where it would make me laugh, and it made me happy. Laughter is therapeutic. You got to put yourself in this season to laugh and to praise and be thankful, because endorphins will be submitted and you will feel so much better about the situation. So find ways to love, find ways to live like you've never lived before, and find ways to laugh, because laughter, and I tell Dr. Tomeka this all the time, laughter is medicine. The Bible promises us that. That's another promise that he's given us. Laughter is medicine, and there is no copay. You don't have to pull anything out your wallet for laughter. You don't have to give the doctor anything, your copay, your nothing, supplemental insurance. You don't have to have any kind of insurance to have the assurance that laughter will provide for you. And laughter is medicine. So in this time, gain some perspective. Don't let your solitude and your shut in be for nothing. Don't let
Yes.
don't COVID-19 sounds like it's going to be over forever, but it's not. The Bible says another promise, this too shall pass. And
Amen.
it's going to pass. But when it passes, it came for a reason. It dealt with you for a reason. But when it leaves, I hope you didn't miss the reason. Don't miss the little stuff, because I promise you, and I'll stop with this. When you praise God for the little things, the big things will come. Kiara Sheard has a new song that I said, oh, this scared be my testimony. Um, I think it's called It Keeps Happening for Me. It's very new. I think her actual album comes out in like 2 more days. And everybody's been watching the Clark sisters because that was on earlier this week. But she has a song, It Keeps Happening for Me. But how that is birthed in her, she keeps saying, you know, everything about her is blessed. Everything, the good and the bad. And because she realizes those blessings, it keeps happening for her. So if we praise him for the small things,
Mhm.
those things you thought, because I tell Tamika, I said, Tamika, you just big time. I tell her I can't even deal with it anymore. God is just blessing her, and He has eyes have not seen, ears have not heard what's coming for Dr. Tamika. But it's because Dr. Tamika focuses on the little things. To have a platform like this and want to have a talk on gratitude right now, folk not talking about gratitude because it's not popular. But Dr. Tamika sees the nugget in it, sees the value in it, and the influence, the impact, and the inspiration that gratitude is going to have to get people through and beyond this pandemic. So I'm grateful for you, Dr. Tamika, because you've seen fit to take the time out to focus on something like gratitude.
Well, I thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to have this conversation because, like just with you sharing the things with your jot journal and the things that you were grateful for, like that really blessed me. And I was like, that's what we need to hear more of. And,
Mhm,
I know we hear all day long if we want to the numbers and the turmoil and and the destruction and and all of that, but you're right, by staying in that mindset of being grateful, by being thankful for the little things, like that is what is going to carry you through really
mhm,
difficult times like this.
mhm,
So I thank you so much for, again, taking time out of your busy schedule to have this conversation. We pray that it blesses someone. We would like to say, a small closing prayer just to, if it's a blessing to someone, to just be encouraged, right? To just hold on, make it through another day. We would like to pray, briefly for you.
mhm, mhm,
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time that we spent in discussing gratitude and
mhm,
even in this season, just recognizing and acknowledging that we have so much to be thankful for. We are just asking all the viewers and the listeners, we're asking you to bless them, to just stay in gratitude as you take them through this difficult time. We're asking you for peace that surpasses all understanding. And we're asking you to bless us to continue to share hope and inspiration in a time that is so very needed. We thank you for all your many blessings. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Well, thank you, Dr. Johnette. It has been wonderful.
Only for you. Only
So, this is the